ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਦਿਲ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਟੀਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡਾ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਜੀ ਸਫਰ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦਾ ਜਰਨੀ ਆਫ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਐਸੇ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਾਉਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਅਮੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਆਮ ਗੋਇੰਗ ਟੂ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਿਊਸ ਯੂ ਟੂ a gentleman who's really amazing. I will welcome Earl Lasek. Hello.
Hello.
Earl, we know each other for several years now, and first time when I met you, I did not know that you were so amazing person, and I know that you went through a lot when talking about health issues. um, I have learned quite a bit from Earl also. Earl, what was your age when you first became, let's say, involved into colostomy, ileostomy, ostomy?
Well, I had an ileostomy when I was 15 years old.
Wow.
So that was in 1960.
1960?
Yeah. And the first meeting I went to of the Ostomy Association, I was in New Westminster, but I came to Vancouver at the G.F. Strong Rehabilitation Center. They had rented a room, and there were all these old people.
Oh.
And I was the only young person.
Okay.
But they weren't that old, but I was now 16.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know what to say. And that was the only meeting I went to for the next 30 years, something like that.
Okay.
And I was young. I was about 13. I was very sick. I had cramps, upset stomach, all sorts of things. And what it was ulcerative colitis.
Wow.
And there is those days, there's no treatment. There's nothing they can do. I became sicker and sicker, and eventually ended up in the Royal Columbian Hospital, and they performed surgery on me, and they removed my entire large intestine, and that was the first of about 5 surgeries.
Wow.
And although I had a few while I was in the hospital for 3 months, every summer I would come back and they would do another surgery. So this went on for a few years. But I survived because I had a really supportive family. And my dad, being a doctor, although he had no experience at all managing it, it's one thing to have the surgery, and then they send you home. Well, when you have an ostomy, there's all kinds of management issues, and things were quite primitive in those days, and I had neoprene pouches and glue to keep it on, and it didn't stay on, and it leaked all the time. And for some reason, I didn't succumb to the worry and my dad. I always wanted to grow up. And my dad would say to me when I was complaining, "Are you a kid?" I hated that. I said, "No." And he would say, "Then let's just carry on and get going." And I would say, "Okay." And so those years weren't that difficult for me. It was sort of like a routine. I just got through it. And I was in I missed most of grade 11. And then I finished school, went to university, met my present wife of today when we were at university, and I have a daughter. She's now 51, and there really isn't anything in life.
So it's been such a long time since you have had the ostomy, ostomy. Then did they improve it to anything like?
Yeah, what they've done is that there was no one at the hospital who knew how to manage after surgery.
Okay.
Prior to surgery, no one selected a good spot for the ostomy to be.
Oh, okay.
Whereas today, there are specialty nurses in wound care and an ostomy, and they come ahead of time, and they take a felt marker.
Yes.
And they look and they see, and they put an X there to tell the surgeon where to put it. Because if you put it in the wrong place, it's difficult for appliances to stay on. And so the world today is so much better for an ostomate to um, adjust, to cope with it, and I was so young, I didn't have body issues.
Uh-huh.
Body issues like image.
Yeah.
What did I know? I never went out with girls. I was 15. I was too sick to go out on dates before that anyway, because I always had to be near a toilet.
Uh-huh.
And then after the surgery, even though I had to have a whole bunch, it was wonderful. I was never sick again. I was about to say, there's nothing in life that I
At that age, did you know anyone else also going through the similar thing?
No, there was approximately 75 people in all of British Columbia who
Wow.
had an ostomy.
Okay, but these days, now, when I went through some of these surgeries, I understand now. Lately, I have heard so many people who have either the colon cancer or rectal cancer. You know,
Right.
so that's it seems like these surgeries like colostomy, ileostomy, ostomy, they're happening quite often now, and they have lots of different choices for the gadgets, for the pouches, you know.
Yeah.
Anything like that was happening.
If I could speak to that, the life expectancy is going up.
Yes.
And people are now living longer.
Yeah.
And diseases that were of the aged were not that common because life expectancy was in the 70s and now it's in the 80s. So
Yeah.
people are living longer. Also, that is a fact. But diet also seems to be of some concern. That the Western diet
Yes.
is not good. Could it be red meat? Could
Yes.
it be the fat content? They don't really know, but they're trying to figure out why are we having this increase in rectal cancer, bowel, and bowel cancer can be really at any age, whereas rectal cancer tends to be when people are a bit older, but a bit older now is in the 60s,
Yes.
and it's not that old. And so there are a lot more people, and our organization has about 150 members, here in Vancouver United Ostomy Association,
Yes.
but that includes Coquitlam, from all around.
There's another thing. Lots of people think they don't even want to talk about the cancer, and if not talking about cancer, but they don't want to talk about your poop is going into a pouch, you're carrying it around. They don't want to talk about.
I'd like to address that. So the three things that people don't want to talk about and cultures don't want to talk about is sex, poop, and pee.
Yes.
And so I go and I've done it for about 15, 18 years. I go and talk to the nursing students, along with a colleague of mine who has a colostomy, which means she has her large intestine, but no rectum. And I have an ileostomy,
Yes.
so I have no large intestine. Okay. And we talk to them, and I'm able to get them to say that the whole concept of eliminating into a pouch on your side is a little, takes them back a little bit. And even though they're medical type people, they have a bit of a problem. And so what I say to them is that, well, let's look at it this way. A person's bottom can be an erotic sort of thing. Men aren't to touch a woman's bottom derriere unless with permission. And when you think about it, in between these cheeks is a hole. And out of the hole comes poop.
Yes.
And when it's white, it's really not that clean. And you think that is okay? I said, I'm clean, I'm tidy, I never get anything on me. And so I think there's a pretty good balance between those who poop through their anus and those who poop to the side. And most of the students say, I never thought of that, but it is true. And so I don't have an issue. But people, and one of the things we do in our organization is to try to get people to talk about body waste, because blood in the poop isn't always hemorrhoids.
Yes.
And so people need to be aware that whenever there is blood showing, there's something wrong somewhere. There's advertisements at the bus stops from the BC Cancer Society, and it's a big bladder, and it's red. And it says, peeing blood is not normal. And it's because people would just ignore it, or especially, and so it's an awareness to let people know they need to talk about their body weights. If something isn't right, go and see your doctor.
Yes.
And people are hesitant in all cultures, really, to deal with waste.
In my community, it was even just about 5, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, I was called into a hospital. They knew that I do some social working through. They called me that there is a lady that she doesn't eat and she don't want to eat anything. They told me what was the problem with her. She was, of course, she went for colostomy, and she was not eating the food thinking that I'm not clean because my poop is right here. And after talking to her, I talked to her in Punjabi and I explained it to her. I said, look, isn't it clean? Like it's not, unless if it's leaking all the time, you have to go and see the doctor again. You smell it. But if you keep yourself clean and neat, nobody is going to notice that you've got a pouch on. But in our community, some people think, no, that's not right. They say they rather die instead of having a pouch. And same thing happens when I went to, remember that I went to India and World Cancer Care, I'm a director for World Cancer Care for BC, Canada. Over there too, people will go for the surgery and either they will say we can't afford the things that we need after the surgery, and some were thinking, oh well, we're going to die anyway. But I understand that first or second stage of cancer, you can survive. Third stage, yes, you can survive. I'm here up the fourth stage. I'm here. I'm living examples for everyone. And of course I did not know much at that time. What the colostomy is, what the ileostomy is, what the ostomy is. I was kind of worried, like what's going to happen. I'm a public person. I go out in the community a lot. I'm on the stages, I'm on TV, I'm on radio. But once I got through that, once I met you, I learned a lot from you also. Then I will say that if you have any signs, please go see the doctor. And also, I heard that it can happen in the family. Like
there is in my family. There's a lot of bowel cancer, and my mom, my dad, one of my dad's brothers, one of his children. I have 3 first cousins here in Vancouver, and they didn't have rectal cancer, so they don't have colostomies.
Okay.
Because they removed the section and hooked the bowel back up again.
Yes.
But I definitely have it in my family, and as a result, our daughter, who's now 51 and in good health, has started to get colonoscopies. And she had one when she was 45 or 47. She goes back every 3 years, and they do another colonoscopy because she's at a high risk of getting it. So there is a genetic component.
Okay, how were you feeling at that time when you first had the pouch? I understand that time there wasn't that much variety of all those equipment that we need.
Yeah, there was no help. I left the hospital with an address to write to in Cleveland, Ohio, to get my supplies.
Wow.
And that was it. Nobody knew anything. The surgeons didn't know anything at all about aftercare. And that's what's changed so much today. There's so much more support. There are specialty nurses. The appliances are incredibly good today, and they are hypoallergenic. And so even though some people still have a little trouble with their skin reacting, but it's another world. I can't really explain how I manage without, it never really got me down. I look back now and I am annoyed at the lack of information I was given. But 64 or 5 years ago, kids were not treated with great respect. by surgeons.
Yes.
It's none of their business. I'm here to do the job on you. And so they wouldn't answer any questions. I had no idea what was going on. And I am pleased that that's not the case anymore. And that's why people like yourself and myself are trying to educate people on awareness. And there's awareness programs going on all the time to help people understand. And the awareness goes all the way to get that checked out, because if it's something that can be taken care of early, then you're ahead of the game.
You're also involved with a society here. I forgot the name. You mentioned it.
Vancouver United Ostomy Association.
Oh, okay. And there is a magazine also that comes out. I read your story in there too.
Oh, yeah. My role for 25 years, I've collected donations of ostomy equipment, pouches, flanges, and so forth. They're very expensive. It's a monopoly. Yes. I mean, they are so expensive, and if one didn't have extended medical coverage, it could cost the person $2,000 to $3,000 a year.
Yes.
And so, although 25 years ago, I got a phone call from the president of the organization, and he had picked up a car full of donations from Lancaster medical supplies. And it's in his car, and he lives in an apartment in West Vancouver, and he said, "Can I drop it off at your house, and then maybe you can mail it off?" And that was 25 years ago, and our organization now, we're connected to all of the hospitals locally, and even arranged from Chilliwack and Abbotsford that when people come to Vancouver, they'll bring, I used to go out and get it, but now they bring it in, and the drugstores, the wholesalers, and I constantly have a flow of donated supplies.
I also want to tell my viewers that you've been giving me quite a bit of the donations that I send it to Indian Punjab and also Pakistani Punjab with help of some other people too. But I get all those supplies from you and I send them over to them. Of course, from time to time we need to raise some money, because sending all that stuff to India, Pakistan is not easy. I understand you have other countries that you send the stuff to.
We do. We send to Ukraine, Cuba,
West Indies.
In the developing countries, in Southeast Asia, and we have a national organization, and it's worldwide, and it is called Friends of Ostomates Worldwide.
Okay.
And the materials that I collect are perfectly good. They are, when they do a inventory, if their due date is too small, then they used to throw them in the garbage. And a box of 10 flanges is $100.
Yes.
And so you can imagine when you come and pick the things up, and someone takes a suitcase to the cancer hospitals in the Punjab, they're carrying about $10,000 retail in the suitcase. And so I am so delighted that your organization, yourself and those around you, organized to get them to India, because we're spending about $3,000 to $4,000 a year in postage just to get the material to St. Catharines, Ontario. And then they organize it and send it off to different parts of the world.
And I like to talk to you about this situation more. But is it possible if we can come back and do some more recording? I have so many questions in my mind.
I would be delighted to talk to you and share my experiences. If it could help others, I'd be most happy.
I really appreciate your help, that you're giving me a chance to, serve other people too. And of course, there are people in Pakistan and India. I see them now, some of them, that they're going through the surgery. Really, thank you. Thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure. Thank you.